it's Gilbert Gottfried. I'm here with my co-host Frank Santopadre, and this is Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsessions.
You know, I was at this event downtown. I wanted to say, I told Frank this story. I was in an event, Tina Fey and Stephen Colbert and our pal Robert Smigel and some other people were doing something downtown. They were doing a live reading of a failed pilot. And so a guy comes over to the table and he says, are you Frank? And I said, yes. He's a fan of the podcast. Turns out to be a friend of Frank Verderosa's, Larry Kenny's son.
Yeah, who we should have Larry on.
Absolutely. And he says to me, my wife and I actually walk around the house saying, and my co-host, Frank Santopadre. I was flattered and terrified.
Well, they may not recall that it took Gilbert about 20 episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, depending on how far we go with these cartoons, Larry's probably in half of them.
I'll bet he is.
I got a tweet from some woman who said her husband walks around the house singing Dummy in the Window.
That's right. I saw that one, too. Yeah. Another woman said, did you see the woman who wrote to us and said that we saved her life because she was driving over a dangerous precipice?
Yes.
Somewhere? Did you see this? Did they share this with you?
They should make that into a movie with Tom Hanks.
Some lovely woman, and we'll read her name on we'll read the email on a future episode, wrote to us, and Dara shared it with me, and she said that she and her daughters were driving. It was a dangerous curve somewhere, I guess in the Southwest, and she's afraid of heights, and it was hairpin turns, and so she put on our Adam West episode, and she said Adam's dulcet tones soothed and calmed her. I know it wasn't Gilbert's.
So does Tom Hanks play Adam or Gilbert?
He plays Gilbert.
He plays Gilbert.
The Precipice, starring Tom Hanks as Gilbert Gottfried, with Meg Ryan as the driver.
Oh, I would live to see that. I would live to see that. Okay, so where we left off, we were doing 1966 was a pretty incredible year for television premieres. And I was saying on Facebook, imagine living in a time when the Green Hornet and the Monkees and Star Trek and Mission Impossible and It's About Time
Oh, yes.
all debuted like within 10 days of each other.
It's amazing.
It is. Unless it's just that we lived through that, so
Yes.
we romanticize
Yeah.
those shows. But we left off talking about a series called The Monroes.
Right, and you don't want to leave people hanging on the Monroes.
Oh, I think this one was a quickie.
I felt bad about that.
Go ahead.
So the Monroes, 1966, 5 orphans establish a homestead in 1870s Wyoming. Another one of those Homestead in Wyoming shows.
It was sort of like what, like the Big Valley or
something like that. But
Or what's the Michael Landon?
The Little House on the Prairie.
Barbara Hershey was the star.
She
in
was
this.
Barbara Siegel before she was Barbara Hershey.
And I don't know if you know these others. Liam Sullivan.
Nope.
Ben
Well,
Johnson.
no, she was Barbara Hershey first. And then she saw a dead seagull.
That's right.
So she
That's
thought
right.
the soul of the seagull
right.
went into her body. Thus, she called herself Barbara Siegel.
Not Siegel like George Siegel.
Yeah,
Seagull.
Siegel.
The actual
Seagull.
seagull.
Yes.
Yeah. No relation to Jonathan Livingston. Siegel. Barbara Hershey was a hot piece of
yes.
of
property.
a hot number piece of property. I should clean that up. So that was the Monroes.
That was the Monroes.
And how long did that one last? Because I
That one,
barely remember it.
Well, let me see. I just kicked
The
over
Swiss
to
Family
Liam's one.
Robinson was also a series with I think
yes.
Jim not Jim Franciscus, the guy from Helen Hayes' son from Hawaii Five-0, James MacArthur.
Monroes disappeared into my phone. I guess we
Okay,
weren't meant
well,
to know how
we won't
long
know
that
how long
lasted.
how long the Monroes lasted will remain a mystery until someone writes us about it. We're going to go from the M's.
And what was her son's name again?
Whose son?
On Swiss Family Robinson?
I can't remember.
No, you just said.
Oh, James MacArthur.
Yes.
Yeah.
MacArthur's Park is melting in the dark. All the sweet green icing's flowing down.
That's a Gilbert callback.
Someone left the cake out in the rain.
Oh, no.
I don't think that I can take it, 'cause it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again. Oh, no! Oh, no!
You know, you're not helping us book Jimmy Webb.
That was your fault, Frank. I hate to tell you. You walked right into that one.
Set him up. The glass in my Oliver Peoples glasses just shattered. Let's go to the ends. The New Adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
It's the same narration as
Yeah.
the black and white series.
Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look! Up in the sky! It's a bird! It's a plane! It's Superman!
You remember this?
I remember there was a Superman cartoon that Max Fleischer made.
No, that's long ago.
That's from the
those were
40s.
theatrical.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were released
Yeah.
in theaters. This, I think, was Filmation. I'm going on pure memory here. Paul will back me up. And I think Bud Collyer. Do you remember Bud Collyer? He was the host of To Tell the Truth.
Oh.
And he was also the voice of Superman. And I think this is the one.
And years later, I was on a Superman cartoon, 2 or 3 of them,
Yeah.
where Tim Daly was Superman.
Right, right.
And I was Miss Yes Picklick.
How do you say that again?
The way it was pronounced to me for the cartoon was Miss Yes Picklick.
Miss Yes Picklick.
Yeah.
Look that one up when
It
you get a chance,
keeps, everyone I
It's-
talk to says it a different way.
Yeah,
Was Bud Collyer the voice of Superman on that series in
Bud
66?
Collier. Bud Collier.
Yeah.
Right on the
Some
money.
say like Mixelpick.
Wasn't the idea that wasn't there something about the guy had some kind of immunity because nobody could pronounce his name
Oh, yes,
or something
yes.
like that? That
Right,
was
what was the gimmick of that character?
Yeah,
If you
it
said his
was
name-
something, if you said his name, he'd disappear.
Okay.
right, but nobody could say his name, so
Yeah.
it was
Sort of like the opposite of Beetlejuice.
yeah.
Oh,
You
yes,
say his name
yes.
3 times, he actually
shows up.
appears.
And I guess it all started with Rumpelstiltskin.
There you go.
Yeah.
This ran till 1970.
Really?
Yeah.
4
Wow.
years of this
Yeah.
animated Superman.
Wow.
Now, who was the company behind it?
It's I think I said is it Fleischman or something? Who did
Oh,
you say?
Fleischer.
Not
Max
Fleischer.
Fleischer.
Well, I don't think it was Fleischer. I
It
think
could have
Wait a
been the
minute,
company.
Let me see.
could have been Fleischman's Margarine.
Could have been New Gold.
Was it Filmation?
Created by excuse me, Lou Scheimer.
Lou Scheimer, yeah. Lou Scheimer did a lot of those DC cartoons. and,
Jerome Siegel was the character creator and Joseph Schuster the character designer.
right. Well, he was one of the co-creators of Superman. Yeah, that's those cartoons, those DC superhero cartoons of the 60s are the things that Robert Smigel parodies so beautifully.
Oh, yes.
With the ambiguously gay duo and the ex-presidents and a lot of those things. He really calls up that school of where Ted Knight was doing a lot of those voiceovers.
Oh, that's
He
right.
did the voiceovers for a lot of those DC cartoons. Moving on, we're going to go through the ends. The Newlywed Game premiered in
Okay.
1966 with Bob Eubanks, which is interesting. Do you remember a show called Occasional Wife?
Oh, geez.
I like the
Kinda
I like
racy.
the title
Yeah.
with Georgina Spelvin.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm kidding. I made that up.
Gee. Oh,
That
geez.
sounds like something she would have been in.
Oh, it does.
didn't mean to excite you.
Oh,
Let's
man.
jump to the P's and this show, Frankie.
How'd you do, my dear? What a lovely surprise, nice to see you here.
All the bills have been long overdue, my dear.
File them under IOU. How'd you do? Well, hello, it's you. Love my dress, love my jewels, are they Morphy-Boo? They belong to the Internal Revenue, and they've got us eating stew.
Well, I just gave away the title.
Sounds like somebody's takeoff on Carol Channing for a minute
Do
there.
you remember this, The Pruitts of Southampton? With Phyllis Diller?
Also, I remember a title
One
like
season,
that, but
30 episodes, or maybe 30 were ordered. It says here 17, maybe 17 aired. Listen to this cast. Phyllis Diller, Gypsy Rose Lee,
oh, my God.
the British actor Reginald Gardner.
Oh.
Am I keeping you up?
Yeah, yes.
I got John Aston here. Is John
Aston, Richard Deacon,
and Marty
Oh.
Ingalls.
and Marty Ingalls, reteaming from
I
Dickens and
remember
Fenster.
Paul Lind.
And Paul Lind.
Oh.
We buried the lead.
I remember Gypsy Rose Lee, who used to pop up on the Merv Griffin show.
Uh-huh.
And she, you'd look at her, she was really old. And like, these rotten yellow teeth and really wrinkled face. And she would go like, in my day, it wasn't taking your clothes off. It was the art of the dance. and I was watching this as a kid going, well, what, guys back then were turned on by her?
You made her sound like Broderick Crawford.
And then she started going, 10-4, 10-4.
Here's the premise of the Pruitts of Southampton. The Pruitts, a supposedly wealthy family on Long Island in the Hamptons, were approached by the IRS about overdue taxes, and an audit revealed they were broke. But rather than reveal this publicly and cause the economic depression which would presumably result, an improbably charitable IRS allowed them to continue living in the mansion and maintaining the pretensions of great wealth.
I'm going to have to talk to my accountant and see
What a
if
premise.
there's anything to this premise.
Based on a
Yeah.
novel.
You've certainly been maintaining the appearance of
Oh,
great
yes.
wealth.
He's got a lot of people fooled. That was the Pruitts of Southampton, and I should point out that theme song was composed by the great Vic Mizzy of Addams Family
Oh,
fame.
really?
geez.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
That seems like one of those, like, we need a theme song that tells the audience this is a comedy.
Somebody suggested that as an episode, as a mini episode, and we should do it. Theme songs that explain the show.
Oh, yes.
So
Oh,
we'll-
my
We'll
God.
gather up a bunch and
A
do
bubbling crude.
a
That's
bubbling crude. Oh,
Yeah.
or F Troop.
Every one of
The
the
whole thing.
Miller Boyette
Yeah.
was like that.
But also the great ones in the 60s. The Brady Bunch and
Yeah.
all the Sherwood Schwartz ones.
Yeah, that's a great
Okay,
idea.
jumping into the R's, the Rat Patrol with Christopher George. Mean anything?
Oh.
He was also the Immortal. We talked about Man on the Run show.
Oh, that's
He was the guy that had the
right.
special blood.
Now, he was married to Susan George?
Nope, he
right?
was married
No?
to Linda Day George from Mission Impossible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not Susan. Susan George was also a quite fetching.
Oh, yes.
Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. The Road West. One of our favorite performers, Roger Miller, had a show that debuted in 1966. The Roger Miller Show.
Roger Miller. the
Dang
singer.
me.
You dang me.
Better take a rope and hang me.
King of the Road.
Yeah.
We talked about him with John Biner, who was his buddy. The Rounders.
Trailer for trading rent. Room to let 50 cents.
He's
I'm
off.
a man of means by no means. King of the road.
I love that song. Super Dave, that's the song that's playing in the famous Super Dave clip that we talked about with Bob
Oh,
Ice. Where he's
wow.
got the piano on the flatbed truck.
Yes.
Let's see. What else? Oh, we got this one queued up. We're still in
Okay.
the R's. Here we go. And we've talked about this on previous shows, Frank.
This is Buddy Overstreet. He's wanted by the head of the most powerful crime syndicate in the country. In the steam room, Buddy overheard their vital secrets and the mysterious words, Chicken Little. Now he knows too much. These are the orders given to all members of the syndicate from one end of the country to the other. Get him! Get him! Get him!
Sounds like Get Smart.
Yeah,
It does.
It does.
Oh, my God.
And
yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So that's Run, Buddy, Run.
Yes, that one I remember.
Yeah, starring Jack Sheldon,
Yes.
who's still with us.
Narrated by.
That was, of course, Ted Knight. We
and listening
talking
to
about
that theme music, I think like that could have been great theme music for this podcast too.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
well,
perfect.
maybe we'll change it up.
Yeah.
Down the line, and we'll have somebody do something like that.
That
for
lasted
us.
from September 12th, 1966 to January 2nd,
Yeah.
1967.
And is it about? It's sort of the same premise as
It's-
Some Like It Hot, right? It's about a musician who witnesses a
yes,
mob
yes.
killing.
I can't get the synopsis.
Should have
up
given
here.
Billy
Yeah,
Wilder
And
credit.
this was like a comedy version of The Fugitive and Run for Your Life.
right. And the reason that music sounds a little
And
gets
Branded.
and all the other Man on the Run shows we talked about. Leonard Stern who was one of the producers behind and one of the brains behind Get Smart,
Oh, okay.
created this show.
Now, it says here that Jack Sheldon was a jazz trumpet player and singer.
Still is.
Still is.
He's also the voice of I'm Just a Bill.
Really?
Oh, my
Schoolhouse
God, that's
Rock.
right.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah, which Frankie and I were talking about
Yeah.
before. All right, Jack Sheldon. We should chase him down. Moving on, Shane. The famous Alan Ladd movie was apparently
yeah.
a TV series,
Oh.
which I did not know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In 1966. Here's one we did know. Space Ghost debuted
Oh, yes. Yeah.
1966. Voiced by?
Ooh.
We lost him. We wanted him for the podcast desperately.
Ooh.
Greetings from downtown Burbank.
Oh, Gary Owens.
Gary Owens, yes.
Oh.
And I believe Jace, I believe the boy character was young Tim Matheson, who would also be
Oh.
good for this show.
Yeah.
Tim Matheson. The Space Cadets, I don't know what that is. A little show called Star Trek, the original series, debuted 50 years ago. The Super Six, does that mean anything
Nothing.
to anybody?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Here's one. T.H.E. Cat.
Oh, was that with Robert Loggia?
Robert Loggia.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it, Mr. Smarty? Now that
Well-
you've raised your hand.
Well, it had Robert Loggia. in it.
Yes. It was an equalizer kind of show about a guy who settles scores,
Oh.
which was a little ahead of its time.
Yeah.
God, Robert Loggia, another one we should have
Oh,
gotten.
he would have been great.
What a character. The Tammy Grimes Show. Remember Tammy Grimes?
Oh, yes.
She had a sitcom.
Now, who was it? Did Tammy Grimes, was she in the original Saved by the Bell?
I think that was Haley Mills
Haley Mills.
from the
Haley Mills.
Parent Trap.
Yes.
Yes. Sister of Juliet Mills of Nanny and the Professor fame.
Oh.
If I'm not incorrect. Paul, you can back me up on this. Why is all of this in my brain?
What are we looking for?
Juliet Mills. Is Juliet Mills the sister of Haley Mills? I believe they are. I believe they're.
Well, I'm on Tammy Grimes.
Oh,
here.
well, give us Tammy Grimes.
Okay.
Tammy Grimes was married to somebody famous.
Wikipedia. What does it say? What do we got here? Tammy Grimes.
We
She's kind of cute.
Yeah, I think we lost Tammy.
Spouse, Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer.
Oh,
There you go.
Christopher
wow.
Plummer.
No slouch.
Also, Jeremy Slate and Richard Bell in sequence.
Right. Did she pass away, Tammy Grimes?
Born January 30th, 1934.
She's
Apparently
around.
not.
She's
Apparently
around.
not.
I
How old
apologize.
would she be?
35. She'd be 80, 81. Yeah, 81.
Okay, we'll call her, but let's not rush this one. When we've got a chance, let's get everything straightened out first. Then when we have a chance, we'll give her a call.
Here's a show we absolutely would be remiss in mentioning, and that is That Girl,
Oh,
created
yeah,
by our
yeah.
pal
There
Bill
we go.
Persky. 50 years ago, and
Oh,
I posted
my
it. I posted it
God.
on Facebook. Tarzan with Ron Eli.
Yes,
Debuted
that I remember.
in 1966. The game show Truth or Consequences.
Really, I would have thought
Yeah.
that went back longer.
You remember this show? Truth or
Yeah.
Consequences? Yeah. I don't remember that much about it. And last but not least, debuting in 1966, and this starred somebody that we were spending a little time with
Oh.
at the Nostalgia Convention in New Jersey.
Yes.
And he said he'd do the show. James Darren.
Yes.
And Lee Merriweather was on the
Yeah.
show. And what was the show? Created by Irwin Allen?
Was it Time Tunnel?
Look at you. You are a stud. The Time Tunnel.
If I was a stud, I would know all the shit I know. If I knew a thing about pussy, I wouldn't be able to name these shows. Or sing that theme song.
And that wraps 1966.
I always heard that women really went nuts for MacArthur Park.
Oh, yes.
They get aroused at a Cool McCool reference. That's it.
And this has been Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsession.
Frankie, take us out with something fun from 1966.
double-O, C-double-O, C-double-O-L, C-double-O-L, Mac. Cool, Mac, cool.